Welcome back to AFL Madden History Timeline. And Stokes, we have made it to Madden 13 Season 5. And at this point, there's not even any conversation of AFL slowing down.
No, not at all. I mean, we're still running strong and just pumping through the seasons.
So at the end of Madden 13 Season 4, this had to be around January, the commissioners put their heads together and came up with an idea to kind of keep things fresh. And we came up with the idea that owners could fire themselves from their current teams, and they would go into a pool of fired owners, and then they would draw out their new team from that pool. And a bunch of guys took advantage of it. Dom took advantage of it. Joker took advantage of it. Shadow took advantage of it, and that's the most notable. Those are the most notable too, as Joker ends up going to the Bengals and ends up in Ridge's division with Ridge, Bailey, and Joker. Shadow goes to the Packers. He goes from the Browns to the Packers, which made his streams just all kinds of fun. Stokes, what are your thoughts on that rule of coaches firing themselves? It's not one that's really taken off over the course of AFL. I think it was good at first, but now guys are hesitant to do so.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get pot committed with the team that they're building. They get really attached to the things that they're trying to do with their team. So it's difficult to give that up for a team that you may not fit as far as style, and of course you don't know who else is firing themselves, so you might get a worse team.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about what we try to do in AFL is not every idea is going to be a great idea, but you have to try things, and some things won't work. I think the coach firing thing does have some upside if enough guys do it, but we just haven't seen it over the course of the history of AFL to make it work. But in this particular season, we had enough guys do it, and especially some big names, like we mentioned, Joker, Shadow. Shadow goes to the Packers, which really made his season-long videos super entertaining. And he went on a very impressive run. He won a wild card game against Cheese and upset Dom's Falcons in the division round, and then lost to MJ Kite by about 5 yards. He was down by 4 or 5 points, completed a pass down to the 4-yard line as time ran out, and Kite's Rams go on to the Super Bowl to take on your Buffalo Bills. Stokes, it's your second Super Bowl appearance of Madden 13. You're taking on MJ Kite, and your Bills get it done. And do you remember anything about this game?
I remember you guys were broadcasting it, and there was this one particular play where Ridge kind of played some sort of defense, and Ridge was like, "Oh, if Stokes stretches that, he's just gonna cut right up in the middle. It's gonna be a touchdown." And then Chris Johnson, what do you know? Stretch, cut right back up in the middle, and it was a touchdown. It was pretty cool because I was listening to you guys talk about it, of course it was delayed, so I had already had to play habit. So I wanted to know what you guys were gonna say about it, and it was cool that that's how it turned out, that he called it.
Probably made you gain more respect for Ridge too, because it was just like, wow, we're seeing the exact same thing here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a sign of a really good player. And we're seeing the same thing, and we're seeing the flaws in our opponent's defense, and that's why I think my rivalry with Ridge was so important to me, because I felt I couldn't have more respect for a player, because he and I were of the same cloth for the most part.
So you mentioned that we were broadcasting the game. We actually moved this, our blog talk. We stopped doing blog talk because, for those that don't realize, blog talk was great for what it was, but you had to be on a telephone. You had to schedule time to do your show. You couldn't go over. You had no flexibility. And we wanted to be able to broadcast games, get more video stuff going. So we decided to move to live stream and start doing AFL Advances, AFL talk radio, or podcast, as we call them now, on live stream. And I think it was a big win for us because it allowed us to do things like broadcast the Super Bowl. Ridge and Shadow and myself were the ones that were broadcasting. And it had to be a little bit of a hard thing for Ridge to do because he lost in the conference championship game to you, Stokes. It's now 2-2. You even up the series, and this rivalry is just dominating AFL Madden 13.
Yeah, and that's what I think was so much fun, is that people were looking forward to those games, and I of course was looking forward to them, and I can only imagine that Ridge was just as excited to get into the games as I was. So it's fun when you can find that person who you can stake stake a rivalry with, and just just have battles time in and time out, and that's I was lucky enough to be a part of that.
So Kite makes it to the Super Bowl. Kite was a very good owner for Madden 12, Madden 13, into Madden 25. Any memories about MJ Kite? I know he was an active guy. He had a hot temper at times whenever he would lose a game, but overall a very solid player. I think maybe an underrated player that made some deep playoff runs that maybe doesn't get the long-term respect as far as like top all-time AFLers just because he wasn't here as long.
Yeah, I definitely think he would be on a list of the guys that are I thought were great players and also great owners. I know time has changed his responsibilities and all that, and I completely understand that. And I really enjoyed having him in the league. And if there comes a time when he wants back in the league, I don't think there would be any hesitation with us having him back.
All right, well, let's go through the division winners real quick. Stokes' Bills, Ridge's Ravens, Rilo's Tennessee Titans. Moxie had the Raiders at this point. As we mentioned, Dom moved to a different team. My Redskins win the East. Shadow's Packers win the North. Dom's Falcons win the South. And Kite's Rams win the West, as this page has not been updated. That should be a Rams logo and not a Seahawks logo. And then on the wild card teams, we had C-Money, Joker, Cheesin, and Han. Big names, Stokes.
Yeah, I mean that's about for that point in the AFL. I mean, couldn't have asked for a more talented group as far as the playoff field.
So Stokes gets his second Super Bowl of Madden 13, his fourth Super Bowl in AFL, and that's 4 Super Bowls, and I'm going to count it up now in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. I'm not going to count season 7 because you left before the playoffs. So pretty good ratio, Stokes. 4 Super Bowls in 7 seasons.
Yeah, I was very excited that I was doing so well, and I didn't. I thought this was going to be a regular occurrence for me as far as winning this often. And, as the talent pool got bigger and better with AFL, I mean, we started having different things happen. And as much as I dislike not winning the Super Bowl every year, it's awesome that we have people that are stepping up and getting better and beating me in playoffs, even if they don't win the ball.
And what had happened up at this point in Madden 13 was Dom's Raiders, Bailey's Steelers, your Bills twice, and Ridge's Ravens. The NFC was starting to feel a complex because the AFC had won all 5 Super Bowls up through Madden 13 Season 5, but that would change in Season 6 as the AFC would finally get on the board and win a bowl. We'll find out who that was on the next edition of AFL Timeline History.